YouTube, that last video on my RS5 did really well, so I brought in my boy Ducky, who has his own 3-liter swapped all-road, and today, I'm gonna show you why we're not rebuilding this car. If you don't have the full context, I bought a 2014 Audi RS5 with damage on cylinder 5.
Oh, wow. So that's the top of the piston.
Yep. The motor probably could have been rebuilt, but it would have had to been sleeved and all that fun stuff, and it just would have been a lot. So instead, I bought this car as a parts car. Oh, it started! And when I posted this car, everybody said, hey, you should fix that car instead of just taking the motor out of it. This one runs, my 2014 doesn't run. So again, the plan is take this motor out, put it in my car, and have a running car. But everybody said fix it. And I'm gonna show you today, while we take it apart, why we're not fixing it. Number one, there's a lot of messed up stuff in here. I mean, the car took a hit hard enough. I guess we can't spin that wheel. The car took a hit hard enough to do that to the wheel. You also notice the wheel is, the wheel is literally touching the frame rail here. You see something?
No, not yet.
We'll take this wheel off. That should probably be the first thing we film, is taking this wheel off.
Yeah.
But something in here, and if you watch the unveil of this car, Mike said the frame is shifted. If you look at the frame rails, this one is straight on, this one is pushed out. So that alone is enough to total the car. Then you got the airbags went off, so we need a new headliner. The kick airbags went off. The steering wheel airbags went off. The seat belts are locked in 2 corners. There's just a lot to this that is not very good. So let's take this wheel off. And, well, actually, I guess we can kind of see in here. I don't see anything too out of line yet. Yeah. All right. Oh, we had spacers on there too.
Ooh.
He had spacers on there, and it was that sunk in the rear.
Wow.
For when it, I don't know, what are the specs on these wheels? So they're 20 by 10. If anyone knows how to find the offset of black diamond wheels, let us know, because I'm not measuring these things. But came with a spacer and a hub ring. Two days later, I finally worked up the courage to get back over here after the mess that Duck and I made. That was really only about 6-ish hours of work to get the motor out, to get the rear subframe out. All the seats are loose. Like, it wasn't that bad. Duck did a lot of stuff in the front corner. There's a lot of stuff over here that the S4s didn't have. We talked with Matt. He confirmed that there's a lot going on in that front corner that we're not used to. I mean, there is an unbelievable amount of stuff that comes out of a car like this when you start pulling it apart. This is just a stack of crap, and I still have more in the trunk and more over here, and you know, it is what you can do. I'm gonna hit a quick cleanup on this, especially the cart. Usually I try to keep my stuff organized, but 2 dudes, we were working back and forth, and I'm gonna make sure I have all my tools, like, you know, there's stuff there, there's map gas, there's that. So I'm gonna hit a quick cleanup, and if you guys are still here, we're gonna do the cost breakdown on why it didn't make sense to fix this car along with the damage. I wanted to address this whole parts car situation. And the reason I say address is because I think the internet has kind of blown this out of proportion on how feasible it is to fix something like this. So taking a step back, the whole reason my RS5 journey started is because someone contacted me saying that they wanted to sell an RS5 with a bad motor. That's the whole reason I have this car. That's the whole reason I have my other car that has the bad motor in it. All of this journey started with that. But what you guys don't know is before that, I was considering buying an RS5 that was crashed and rebuilding it. So I would say that based on looking at parts values on this car, now I'm starting to part it out, and the previous research that I did, and the fact that I'm connected with Mike, who rebuilds these cars all the time, I have a pretty good grasp on what stuff would cost if we were to rebuild this. That's about $15,000 worth of parts right there. And that's not me rounding up. It's kind of crazy, but here's an engine for sale with way more miles on eBay. And here's the carpart.com listing for RS5 transmissions. So if you need a motor and a transmission, you're looking at like $9,000 to $10,000 for the motor. Obviously this one's only 46,000 miles, so it's probably selling on the high end. And then you're looking for a transmission. Again, this is a lower mileage transmission, so that's also selling on the high end. Buying a motor separately on these cars just doesn't make sense. I think the only reason you would do that is if you didn't have a space for a parts car and you just needed to get the swap done quickly, or if you're a shop and you obviously don't want to buy this because you can just charge the customer and the customer pays it. But if you're someone like me who has a space to do stuff like this and has the time to do something like this, my RS5 is also not my only car, so it doesn't matter how long it's down. Buying a motor, just a motor, doesn't make sense. So when we get into the car, which you guys are like, oh, you can save that, don't part it out, you can fix it, blah, blah, blah. You guys know this is a $15,000 engine and transmission right here. The same thing goes for all the other parts on this. So let me put some rough numbers around this. If you remember in the last video, I bought this car for $11,000 in the condition that it's in. I paid $700 to ship it to me. So I'm in this car $11,700. If the other RS5 was completely out of the question and we were just gonna fix this, I would have to find a front bumper, a passenger fender, a radiator, what else? And basically everything that was on the front end, other than the cooler on that side, would need to be replaced. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but the bumpers are virtually impossible to find. They retail for around $6,000. You can't do people are sending me RS5 replica bumpers. They're built for S5s, which are narrow body cars. It just doesn't work. So the bumper is really expensive. Used, I've seen them between $2,000 to $4,000, and then it obviously would require paint. Sometimes they have some sort of damage with them. The fenders are about $500. All of these hoses and coolers and stuff like that, I can't imagine it would be obscenely expensive to do all that stuff. So again, I'm in this car $11,700. Let's say we were gonna fix it. We would have to buy a front bumper, a fender, and a hood. Front bumper, conservatively $3,000, fender conservatively $500, hood $1,000, $800, I don't know, call it $4,500 between the three of those. And that's without paint. Then we're gonna have to buy all the parts that were on that smushed up end over there, including the brackets and everything, which means I'm going through and finding individual part numbers, individual hoses, putting it together, figuring out what parts I missed, blah, blah. We'll call that a conservative $2,000. So $11,700 plus $4,500 at $16,200, another $2,000 in random miscellaneous nonsense like the radiator and that kind of stuff. That's $18,200 that we're at. The windshield, I just did one in my other car. That's another $1,000. Obviously, insurance is not covering that because it's crashed. So we're at $19,200 for the parts, the windshield, the hood, the bumper, and the fender. I guess the next step to talk about, we're at $19,200 right now, what this car is actually worth. A 46,000 mile RS5 in today's market is probably selling somewhere between $32,000 to $35,000. We'll call it 35 because it's a nice round number, but that's probably a little bit high. Salvage title cars take anywhere from 20% to 25% off of the value. 35,000 times 0.8, so we'll call it 20% off. The car is now worth $28,000. So we're in at $19,200 with parts, no labor, assuming I'm doing the labor, and the car's worth $28,000. So now our margins are down to less than $10,000 on the car. We're gonna have to get the front bumper painted, the fender painted, the hood painted. Now Mike is not gonna do just front bumper, fender, hood. We're also gonna have to paint the door on that side. We'll probably have to paint the fender and maybe get into the door on that side. But that's another, I don't know, again, conservative $3,000 in body work. So now we're at $22,200, right? $19,200 Yeah, 2020. We're at $22,200 after paint and everything. The car's worth $28 if we sell it. And then we have to go to the interior. We need a headliner because the airbags went off. We need to replace all the airbags. So that's the kick airbag, the steering wheel airbag, both curtain airbags, the seatbelt tensioners, all that fun stuff. I have zero idea what that costs, but we'll call it, what do you say, $1,500, $2,000? I feel like that's low, but I don't know, maybe you get lucky, you find a crash on a scrapyard or whatever. So now we're in at $24,200 with the interior stuff put back together. Again, the car's worth $28,000, but the thing that remains to be seen is whether or not the frame rails are straight. So best case scenario here, we're making $3,800, assuming I don't have to put a single other cent into it, and obviously we have to pass our salvage inspection, but that stuff's all irrelevant. Best case scenario, we're in at $24,200. Worst case scenario, Mike puts it on the frame machine and he says, hey, that car is not straight. Now all of a sudden, I don't know what kind of costs we're incurring to get the car back to straight. I really don't know the man hours involved in that, but that's a thing that we haven't even considered to this. I mean, I guess I considered it early in the video, but like when you guys said repair, that's really not something you've considered. So let's say I have to put another $2,000 into body work to get the frame straightened out, which by the way, the motor and everything would have to come out for that. So either I'm doing that or I'm paying Mike to do that. So we're here anyway. It just like, I don't know. My whole point in doing this whole cost breakdown thing, I would imagine it's not interesting for most people, but for those that stayed, I feel like YouTube is just so unrealistic in showing how to offset these cars. Now, the reality is the big YouTube channels are doing a sponsored video inside of that, and that's paying them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for the sponsored video, and that's offsetting the cost to actually fix the car so they can do the interesting stuff that wouldn't otherwise be profitable. I don't have $10,000 video sponsors. I got some great people that I work with. No one's paying me $10,000 for a single video. I can promise you that. All that comes down to say, it doesn't financially make sense to fix this car with the goal of making money, because if you guys caught my live stream the other day, I'm giving away my cards here. I'm in both of these cars less than $25,000. Which again, if I fixed this and sold it, it'd only be worth $28,000, and I paid $11,000 for it. So you guys can do the math on that kind of stuff. Obviously, there were some shipping fees and some other stuff included in there. Parting this car out versus buying a motor for the other car actually makes way more sense, and let's work the math on this. Now again, these are kind of conservative numbers, but these are all the parts that I plan on selling off of this car. I get the brakes, the suspension, there's like MMI interior trim stuff, the steering wheel, the headlight, the shifter, the rear shade, the seats, the trunk, and all the spoiler stuff, which by the way, if you're interested in that, holler at your boy. I'll give you a smoking deal on that if you want to retrofit on that on your S5 or something like that. The carbon diffuser, the carbon mirror caps, the fender, and the brake master and slave. Did I mention the headlight? Yeah, I think I got all that. That, again, conservatively, is right around $7,000, which, if you do the math out, means that for this motor and transmission that I just said was $15,000, I paid right around $4,000 to $5,000 for this motor and transmission once all of this stuff is sold. And that's not including the scrap value of the car, and I'm sure there's more stuff that I could pull out of it if I really wanted to. So instead of paying $9,000 to $10,000 for the motor, I'm basically paying $4,000 to $5,000 depending on how much I sell this stuff for. And obviously, this takes patience too, right? Not all the money is coming back immediately. It's going to take time to sell all these parts. But I'm paying $4,000 to $5,000 for this motor, which puts me in a significantly better spot because my clean title car only has 61,000 miles on it, and MMR on that is right around 27. The math on all of this works out if I part this car out and put it in the clean title car. It doesn't work on all of this if I don't part this car out and try to fix it. I don't like talking money on the channel, but I feel like YouTube needs a reality check as far as fixing these cars and what's actually profitable for a relatively normal person like me as opposed to like a Sam Crack or a Tavares or someone like that. Again, those guys can offset with the sponsorship stuff, and that makes for really interesting content. Like if this car had frame damage and I was making $10,000 a video, well, you guys bet I'd make 4 videos on it, and we'd be doing all right. Like even if I sold the car for less than retail, it doesn't matter, we'd be profitable. I'm not in that scenario, and most of you watching this video are also not in that scenario. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea into the financials behind this car, because again, I do feel bad parting this car out. It's a car that runs and drives, just has damage to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed a little view into what goes on in my brain and behind the scenes. And I hope that it doesn't feel like I'm justifying myself, because I was going to make this decision whether or not you guys liked it. But the last video did so well, I figured I would get a video out of this and actually explain to you the financials behind it. The next video is probably going to be an R32 video, so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Go out there and spread some positivity, and I will catch you guys in the next video. And if you're interested in parts, it's IgnitionTube@gmail.com.